Hey, is your kitchen running at peak efficiency? I mean, stupid efficient. Because if it's not, you are spending and wasting truly thousands of dollars every month in just disorganization. Stay tuned because in this video, I'm going to detail ways to get more efficient in any kitchen because we've done it ourselves and know what actually works and what really doesn't. Hey, and if you want to make your restaurant ops that much cleaner, that much tighter, and that much more profitable, then follow the link below to get with me and Unsliced. The application link is there, and I'll see you around. Again, by the end of this video, you will know how to transform your kitchen into a smoother environment if you abide by these rules and principles. And if you have a kitchen below and run into a problem, comment below. Hey, here's the thing I'm doing right now, or this is a thing I saw work, but now we're doing this. Whatever it is, comment below. I'll be the one that comments back. Because I own kitchens, 12 of them across 7 different brands with over 300 employees and Delini's worldwide here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, owned by me and my brother and no one else. Real restaurants, real knowledge, here for you. The first rule of kitchen organization is the layout. The layout's obvious. If you already have a pre-existing layout and you're dealing with that problem, you need to undo it. But you need to really focus in on how does this naturally flow? Is it like a circle? Someone makes an item, it goes out, it gets delivered, they can pick something up, it goes to the disk station, and they can come back and pick up another item. Or it's in straight lines where people, again, like a circle, can walk back and forth. Things from the back of the kitchen can flow forward and then back. It has to work like a circle without crisscross patterns of nothingness. If you have to go across the room to get this, and they have to go over there to get that, you have an inefficient setup before you've even begun. Along with that are bottlenecks. A bottleneck is where a bunch of people need to get somewhere like a dish station, but they have to go around a corner to a thing. Again, sometimes it's just the nature of the beast. If you can make it safer with a bubble mirror to clearly see safety in the restaurant of who's coming and going, that can enhance it. But truly, the first rule is the traffic pattern is a good traffic pattern. Not this, but this. Whether it's collectively or individually, people are not bumping into each other or hitting nonstop stoplights and bottlenecks. If your kitchen was a freeway, would it be designed as that, or would it be designed as the congested 405? The next is prep. And here's my rule on prep. Is it obvious what needs to be done, what already has been done, and where each thing is and why? Obvious. If you have buttermilk over in one part of the kitchen, but also in the walk-in, but also under the line, and you don't know which one is which or which one to use when, you're gonna have product waste, and it's gonna be ineffectual and inefficient. So where everything is very finite, it's FIFO'd, and then the prep is also obvious, because if, let's say, you're pre-prepping pasta and you don't know what should be done when, by who, and how, you're gonna have an inefficient kitchen. Now, there's several products out there. First off being iPad programs that'll show the prep, the other types of par lists that are very common in the industry. I like all those-ish. What I like a lot more is a whiteboard that clearly says to everyone, here's what's done, here's what needs to be done. It's something I proprietarily created for my restaurants, and it's inside the Unsliced Restaurant System. I learned this because hospitals have big ass whiteboards for patients. Go to any hospital and say, how are you doing today? What's the patient here for? What's going on? If it's good enough for a hospital, it's good enough for a restaurant. So I am a big proponent of an obvious whiteboard in the heart of your kitchen saying what's done and what needs to be done. You could add into this cleaning items and other random things as well, but that's where you should start. The next is individual zones and workflow. The individual zone should have within arm's reach every single thing they need for that zone. Assuming the prep is now done, they don't have to go and make the item from absolute scratch when it gets ordered. They know, here's my pre-portioned item, here is my exact measurement required for the recipe, and I put a little of this, I have this, and I know exactly what they need to be. If it's something that is a little bit harder or you have people in training, they have access to the exact measurements, potentially in a flip book recipe chart of what is to go on what. So you have an exact, let's say for a salad, it is 3 tomatoes, 2 scoops of croutons, exactly set up with a reference point that they can look at during operations if they're new, so they can get their training wheels off. This is more efficient than having nothing and letting them guess or go back to the kitchen or ask someone else. With the triangle rule, they should be able to go one step left, one step right, one step back for anything that they're gonna need. If they need a fryer, they shouldn't have to walk across the kitchen to fry up the things they need for their station. You might have an operational problem or bottleneck if you do it otherwise. If you find that one part of the kitchen has to go all the way across, then try to find a way to mitigate that or have it be that zone's prep item or to do during the rush. The macro theory here is minimize movement. Minimize movement, minimize cross pattern, have the traffic be zoned in, especially for the rush. If you find that the prep station in front of them only has so much, look at building an overhang. An overhang is where other bins, typically non-refrigerated, could go hanging off another shelf. And if you don't have that, you're gonna wanna get with like a sheet metal company that can make custom metal fabrication work to your prep table to maximize it. It is a very cheap expense in the grand scheme of things to spend a little bit of money on an overhang with a place to put tools or items that don't go bad to minimize the 8 steps that someone's gonna need to take throughout a shift that's gonna turn into miles and turn into hundreds of miles over the course of a year of wasted effort. And just like I was referencing the recipe book before, that's an SOP, a standard operating procedure. Each menu item must have the SOP or recipe build card. This is not the costing card that you as an owner should have that says, hey, I use a little bit of this and this and this and this, and that comes out to $13 and therefore I charge X dollar for it. That's a costing card. I'm talking about an operational card, and this card should be an SOP that is obvious. Step 1, big photo. Step 2, big photo. Step 3, big photo. Here's how many items it is, or what portion, or how many slices, or what measurement, down to a finite perspective. 1 slice of pepperoni is a finite perspective. 1 cup of croutons is a finite perspective. A scotch is not a finite perspective. And it should be within arm's reach of anyone that doesn't have it memorized. And if you want to make sure they have it memorized, you have to spot check it through testing and very, very focused, detailed training that they must graduate to be able to work this station. No one should be able to work a station day 1. No. There should be training where they learn the recipes, they do the recipes, verified by another employee, and then continue to do those recipes and build up their repetitions till they are a fully functional member of that zone. And another thing to make your restaurant significantly more efficient is to not leave them in that zone in perpetuity. They have to cross-train. They don't have to know how to be a host as well as a line guy, but they have to be able to work at the dish station, work at the appetizer station, work at the entree station, and do all of them so that when you're down on people or someone didn't show up or just the things that go wrong happen, you're able to cross-utilize your performance group. Once all that's set up for success, let's use technology to our advantage, which is what tech is for, right? Here's some restaurant technology that you might have heard of, a KDS, a kitchen display system. Some people love them, some people hate them. If you have a kitchen printer, it's printing out in a very clear and clean and easy to understand manner where your staff knows what they need to do and it's focused and it goes down the line and the ticket can't get lost because it makes sense. The first ticket, the second ticket, the third ticket, or however you want to set it up. There is a Murphy's Law approach that if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. So could this go wrong? Could the tickets get lost? If so, use KDS. But if, hey, KDS doesn't work for X, Y, or Z reason, then don't. But make sure it is set up for success. Kitchen display systems are really solid because they'll tell you when someone saw the ticket to when they sent it out, which gives you a proper ticket time, which can really enhance your operations. But even if that's not in play, technology could even be as simple as timers. Do you have timers? Again, Murphy's Law says if you put something in the fryer and you don't have a timer, at some point someone's gonna forget it. So set a timer. What timer? It doesn't need to cost a lot. The Taylor timers they sell at every restaurant supply store in America do the job great. You want to get a fancier, bigger timer? Huzzah, but have one. Think in terms of Murphy's Law. Can this go wrong? If so, it absolutely will, and fight against it by doing things that set up a system to not allow for that. And the timer should have the finite time set. Not like, oh, I set a timer and I come back and look at it, or I keep clicking the 1 minute. If it's 3 minutes for the item, you need a 3-minute timer. If it's 2 minutes for another timer, there should be a 2-minute timer, i.e. 2 timers on the wall with a label above it. This one's for fries, This one's for chicken breast, or whatever the time or item is related to. The next thing that an efficient kitchen has is community culture. Let's talk about it like a soccer team. Imagine a soccer match where people didn't say, ball here, thrown to you, and communicating nonstop. They don't speak through telepathy. They speak through speaking. And I've seen a lot of failure in kitchens where they're like, well, they should know what to do. Well, he's been doing this for 5 years. He knows what to do. Bull crap. Ball here in a kitchen is, okay, got it, heard, 10-4, copy, whatever it is. Hey, I need 2 plates coming at me. Got it, boss. Yes, chef. Whatever it is, if your kitchen's a quiet kitchen, it's a crappy kitchen. And if you want an efficient kitchen, teach them how to speak, teach them the nomenclature you want them saying, and expect it. And not only that, demand it out of your crew. Along with communication, encourage the staff to call things out, not in a negative way like, oh, you made that crappy, but hey, this plate's not clean, do it again, or this one's not right, or taste testing it with a disposable spoon, a manner which you have some level of product quality being evaluated by some member of the crew. If you can, have an expediter who sends food back or to the floor. Like, yep, go to table 42, go to table 54, or hey, nope, guys, this is too burnt. I need another one. And that person must, come here, listen, I'm gonna tell you something, must be respected. They cannot be questioned. I don't care if the owner of the whole corporation walks in and says something, that expo has to be able to tell them it's not good enough, and no one can question it. An expediter needs to have that level of trust and authority in what they say to be able to enforce proper quality metrics. Nothing is perfect all the time. And if nothing's getting sent back, you have a bullcrap kitchen. I'll say it again. If food's never getting sent back, you're doing it wrong. And I would much rather be sent back by the expo than the customer, or the customer just accepts it and it's fine. It's fine, because fine is our F word, and they're not coming back next week because you sent out something that was Bush League. And a proper expediter, or just a kitchen that holds itself accountable, can mitigate that problem. Next, reduce waste. First way to reduce waste is notate it through a waste log. If something did get burnt, you toss it and you write on it, burnt item, and you notate which item it was and potentially the cost associated with it. So you have that for your food cost, and you have a detailed list of who's wasting and when. And I don't care how busy it is, you have to be able to stop and write that down. Writing down the waste is going to give you an awareness of how much you're wasting. And you cannot do this where you waste it and say, okay, great, we'll eat that later. Don't do that. If it goes bad and they get rewarded, i.e. your staff, for the item going wrong, you're gonna have staff that is now incentivized to screw up, and that is dangerous. So you have to notate the waste and toss it, which sucks. I get it, but you cannot go the other route because it will hurt you and them and the health and safety of the restaurant in the long run. Look for things that will help in terms of waste, like portion control items, whether it's cups or pre-bagging or anything that is a finite measurement. Along with that, how you can cross-use items. If you have a single-use item on your menu, that's pretty dangerous, because if that item's not getting purchased, you're potentially gonna have more waste. Or it's just taking up space and being used for one very small menu item. Again, if it's a fringe item with a single-use component, it's now kind of wasteful. So see if there's other things on the menu you could use that item for and cross-use it so you have more efficiency in your kitchen with items that are being used more abundantly. Along with zones, planning for your peak hours is truly where profit is made. If you only have 3 hours of tonnage where it's crazy busy, you need to maximize table turns. What can you do to maximize that? Cut away seconds wherever you can. Pre-batch items, whether it's the bar pre-batching cocktails or you pre-doing the items as far as you can make them, just shy of fully sending them out, you now are set up for success. By reducing the amount of items on your menu, you can be that much more certain that this item is going to get used over the course of the next 3 hours. And if you think, let's say in terms of a pizza restaurant, you know you could sheet out the skins for 40 pizzas, and you are 40 pizzas ahead of the game because you know you're going to sell at least 100 that night, and now you're just fulfilling the 40 pizzas. It could be pre-doing sandwiches, it could be pre-doing all sorts of things, unless it affects the final product. And now you have to gauge it. Are you a fine dining restaurant making each thing to order, which even in a fine dining restaurant, there still is prep? Or are you going more for a fast approach? And if you're doing that, what can you do to seek efficiencies, minimize steps, and batch ahead of time to plan for your peak hours and have the appropriate amount of staff, not too much that they're in each other's way, but the perfect amount so they can move like a team through the rush. Hey, and if you want to have a more successful kitchen, restaurant, brand, and life, then just get with me with Unsliced. Comment, share this video, like it. It would mean the world to me. It will help another restaurant owner, and I will see you on the next one.